Good morning all, welcome back. I'll take you along with me today. Just a casual day in Ipswich. Little bit of a day in the life. Got a few errands to run and then I will go in to Ipswich on the Indian for a bit of lunch with Monica. I still haven't got used to it. Seeing the Indian parked up right next to the Jeep. Every time I come down the stairs and I take out either the Chief or the Wrangler, it's just so exciting seeing both of those next to each other. Feel like just for this 2-week period, like I've won the lottery. First up, overdue, trip to the dump. I used to worry about space when I had to do trips to the dump with the little Fiat, but with the Jeep, no such issue. I was asked by a friend of mine just yesterday, what's it like owning the Jeep? How's it been for the first 2 or 3 months of ownership? And I said to him it makes every day, every journey a proper adventure. Doesn't matter how small the journey is. It turns it into a proper event. And I realised that for vehicles, whether it's a car or a motorbike, the only thing I care about is if it makes me happy. For example, everyone's different. Some people care about dynamism, for example. Some people care about the most exquisite handling. But for me, it's as simple as, does it make me feel amazing? So handling on the Jeep is, relatively speaking, appalling. And in the wet going around roundabouts, it's probably one of the worst vehicles I've ever driven. But none of that matters to me. I've never thought, bugger, the handling's bad on the Jeep. I think I better upgrade to a better handling vehicle. It just doesn't bother me. Now, I have to head off to where the Bonneville is parked up because I need to disconnect the battery. And actually I think I'm going to have to give the battery a charge because it's probably been coming up to 4 or 5 weeks since I last used it, and I'm sure that has to be close to the limit for what the Bonneville can hold on to charge-wise. So off to the lockup at Ipswich Marina. Let's disconnect and have a look for the first time in a while at the Bonneville. Make sure it's still there. I don't know what to do thinking about it. The petrol station's 2 miles away, and it says there's now an 11-mile range. But it's cut out 3 times now. Is it a stupid risk to try and ride it 2 miles when it won't even stay on? Ah, bugger. made it. That was lucky. It said by the end, I think there was 5 miles of range left. So hopefully that's sorted out the strange cutting out problem, which is the first time I've experienced that. I'm hoping just the fuel gauge is maybe 10 miles out. So let's hope that theory is correct. Off to sort out the Bonneville. It was the fuel. It said 13 miles on the Chief. And actually, there was so little in it, it was cutting out. Remember that if you get one of those. So that is, with the Chief, inaccurate fuel gauge, which is a little bit worrying. You have to bear that in mind, and also a gauge that takes a long time to load up. Bonneville. First time I've seen it in a while. It's filthy. Everything here gets a coat of dirt on it. So, battery off. And then I think what I'll do, I'll take it home and give it a charge. I actually did the oil change on this, so this is my fault, but I've just noticed this. There's a slight, tiny puddle of oil underneath the engine. So I must not have tightened the sump screw properly. I realise every time I get a new press bike and I go back to the Bonneville, I realise how simple this bike is. 14-year-old bike now. And I lift up the seat and it's got some, but it's not full of electricals and fuse boxes all over the place. In relative terms, today's bikes, this is extremely simple. This doesn't even have ABS. Of course, no rider modes, no ABS, nothing. I bought this bike, the Bonneville, because in my mind, for me at least, it's the sweet spot of technology. I like fuel injection because it's easier. And that's about all I need. That's it. Modern day reliability, fuel injection. And I'm happy. I'll check that. Be interesting how much charge it's lost. I was reading through your comments on the Indian Chief Arrives video, and someone shared something fascinating. They said that, in essence, Freddie, do you know that Indian motorcycle is actually a bit more English than you thought it was? Of course, it was a company started in the US in around 1901, but it has a tumultuous past. It's a roller coaster of highs and lows. Being completely honest, most of the history of Indian motorcycle you'd probably class as fairly low because it went through a huge amount of trouble. In 1950, it was bought by an English company. I've forgotten the name, but they made corgi motorcycles, which were really little scooters and tiny kind of 125cc bikes. They bought, this manufacturing company who make corgi motorbikes, they bought the rights to the Indian name. So from 1950 to 1955, Indian motorcycles were made in England. And they made these tiny little fold-up type bikes. I think one of them was called a papoose. If I can find a picture, I'll put it here. But this was a bit of a disaster, lasted 5 years. Appalling levels of sales. But it's fascinating to see the Indian name on these tiny bikes that you just don't associate Indian with now. After that, it gets more interesting. 1955, Enfield Motorcycle Company, Royal Enfield, they bought the rights to the Indian name. And then what they did is they made this strange mix of Royal Enfield motorbike, so the Royal Enfield, I think 500cc engine, but with a bit of that Indian motorcycle flair, such as the flamboyant front and back mudguards, and they put the Indian name on the tank. They're really rare, but if you look carefully, you can find these, and I believe, to the best of my knowledge, this period from 1950 to 1960-ish, they actually imported or exported the bikes over to the USA, so it was a really funny situation. Of course, this Royal Enfield collaboration with Indian, that also didn't work, and then the company was just almost dormant for a long time. But Indian motorcycles, they really do have a proper connection. I'm happy to say our LIBERTATIA tool rolls in pitch black are back in stock, so now every colour is fully stocked again and available. Thank you so much, everyone, for the support. We really, really appreciate it. They're made from British oilskin and handmade right here in Ipswich, England. I've attached this one to the front of the Chief, which works perfectly well, and I think I've done a couple of full-day trips on it, and it works really, really nicely just above the headlamp there, but you can put them in loads of different positions on your bike, as well as if you don't want to put it on your bike, you can just put it in your backpack or pannier. One other thing to show you from XLMOTO, these are brand new, or brand new to me, the Ride & Sons Lord gloves. I've got these in black, but this brown and, what should I call it, light brown colour is really nice. They're a 1950s, 60s inspired racer glove, and they are extremely comfortable, very low profile, and they've got this brass buckle to shut it with a bit of extra reinforcement on the front. I think that's an extremely good looking glove. Monica's favourite view of Ipswich. Every time we walk on this street, you say the same thing, don't you? It's all those little wonky houses and then the Union Jack in the distance. You know, the amount of really nice coffee shops opening in Ipswich, it's amazing. For such a town of this size to have this many coffee shops, I think there are probably 7 coffee shops in Ipswich, and each one of them is amazing. And that is brand new. Harvest Moon, they're just popping up all over the place. We've been agonizing about where to maybe go on a little 2-week break. Do we go somewhere? Yeah, next week. I mean, we book everything last minute. This is the thing. Do we go somewhere that we've never been before? You get the excitement of going somewhere new. Or, because it's only 2 weeks we're going for, do we go somewhere we know? Somewhere like Tenerife. See, Tenerife is easy. We know everywhere. It's like a home away from home. We know exactly our favourite coffee shops. We know the great drives, the great rides. I know where to get bikes from. It's all easy. It's just seamless. Or do we make life a little more difficult to go somewhere new? Maybe even a road trip in the Wrangler. Monica, what do you think? See, Monica's not mic'd up. She's saying Tenerife or Biarritz. Biarritz, southwest coast of, or west coast, I should say, of France. That's also top of the list. I'm thinking I can feel a Tenerife trip coming back. probably think I'm talking nonsense, but I maybe quite like the idea of cleaning a bike. The problem is where I live in Belvedere, it's just so unpleasant because you have to go down 3 flights of stairs and walk over to a lockup and then get the bike out of the lockup. And there's just nowhere pleasant to clean a bike and look after it. But here in Ipswich, this is about 15 seconds away from the front door of the apartment. And it makes things more pleasant and easier. I actually quite enjoy it. I've got boxing preview there on my phone. In fact, I've used this. If anyone's got a mag case for quad lock, it just attaches to a metal surface. So I've got my own TV stand there. So I've got boxing updates there. I'm cleaning the chief bobber. For me, this is a very, very nice way to spend an afternoon. So I'll wrap it up there. I hope you enjoyed this little day in the life kind of video. Thank you so much all for watching. Have a brilliant day all, and I'll see you all in the next one.